I'm very conscious of your time, and I know before we came on the call, you said about how busy you are. At the end of every interview, or near the end of every interview, I always ask kind of two questions. The first of which I think is really valuable, and I'll recap this in about 6 months' time, because actually, going back through and listening back to people that I've spoke to before, everyone always has this really great advice that actually seems to be applicable all the time. We all go through different challenges with COVID and lockdown and finance and stuff. But would you be happy to share what's the best piece of advice you've ever had?
Yeah, and you'll think this is typical of me, Steve, because I'm going to say two bits. But the first one is a bit of an old-fashioned one, but be the radiator, not the sink. And it's really just about self-awareness, and you learn it over time. But someone once said to me, in all interactions, particularly in front of your peers and your team, always try and be conscious that you're the radiator, i.e. the one who radiates energy or enthusiasm or positivity, versus being the negative one or the sink, because the sink can pull down the whole team. A radiator can light up and radiate into others. And that's really stuck with me, even if it's quite a tough message, to try and kind of deliver it at least in that way. And I guess the second bit that I'll kind of slide in there is one that I like as well, which is always be a chameleon. And that's not a disingenuous thing. What I mean by that is react and respond to the environment you're in, the people that you're in front of and you're working with, and be responsive to that. That's just an awareness thing in terms of reading the room and reading emotion. And I think those two things, if you're in a people industry like I am, are the kind of key bits of advice that always come back in my mind if I hear myself doing something or saying something. I hear that voice in my head saying one of those two things.
Like, out of interest, do you ever build into your PR strategy about how you as a brand or personally communicate those values?
I probably just try to live by them and demonstrate them. But it's probably the way I do that. I don't kind of as proactively, consciously do it, but sometimes I do find myself thinking, I'm moving into drain mode here, back up, think of a different way to deliver this message. So it's just about being aware and being able to step back to that helicopter view. That's something I've learned with experience. Instead of being in the weeds all the time, sometimes just take that slight step back if there's a problem and look at the bigger picture, and then try and go back to the weeds. And the weeds make much more sense when you can take that step back.
No, I think it's awesome. And then the next question, similar, but it is kind of different. If you were to give advice to your younger self, and actually I love the story about almost working from 16 and grafting and working through uni and stuff. I love that. But yeah, if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Well, the first one's a geeky finance one. I would have told myself what compound interest was and forced myself to save more money instead of spending it when I was younger. So you learn that one with time. And then the other one is just that perspective. So to the kind of lessons that I've learned, just actually sometimes when you're in the moment on something, especially when I was younger, because I think what you like when you're younger, just stop, take a step back a little bit, look at what the bigger picture is, look at what else is going on, and that perspective will see you through whatever that challenge is. I think I would have probably had a word in my ear about those two things, and I probably have a bit more money in my pocket and a few less challenges over the years.
But it's funny though, isn't it? Because it's almost when you have times of challenge, and it's the things that, none of us are perfect, but that's what you learn from, and that almost makes you who you are today. That actually, it just is what it is. That's why it's called experience. Nobody was born kind of perfect. So that's cool. Is there anything you would like to talk about or plug before you go?
No, I've plugged Mercia already. So I think the last thing I would say is if people are thinking about equity investment or growth capital, look at the BVCA website, a guide to private equity, which Steve, you can put a link. I can send you the document. It's a really good industry, totally independent from each of the firms. It represents all of the firms in the private equity industry. If you want to learn about private equity venture capital and what it could do for your business, I'd encourage people to read that. And the more we educate people, the more opportunities there'll be for me in the future. So that's my only plug.
No, sounds awesome. But I've genuinely enjoyed catching up. I know last time it was more fun because we had a few coffees and we had breakfast. It was a nice environment. I'm still shocked about how long in terms of time it's been. We're almost at a year of being locked down. But again, hopefully when Boris lets us out to play again and the snow's gone and whatever, it'd be great to kind of do more networking events and just kind of catch up in person.
Yeah, I look forward to it. It's my type of thing.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Hopefully people are sending comments, and then just so you know, I clip this all up. It'll go on YouTube. I'll pick like a 10-minute section, put it onto LinkedIn again tomorrow. And then I'm sure you'll get a few comments. And then likewise, anyone that might be interested to find out more, please reach out to Aaron. He's a really good guy. I've known him for a long time. And yeah, I think we'll call it quits. So no, Aaron, thanks for your time. And I'm sure I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.